Question: what is sustainable aviation for you?
So, Tatiana, I come from aviation, from private aviation, my entire career. And when I first got introduced to sustainability in the realm of aviation, it was to measure our emissions for EU ETS. Before that, there was literally nothing related to addressing emissions or addressing sustainability when it comes to climate change. I don't talk about diversity and sustainability when it comes to ensuring that we have a workforce for the long term. I'm more specifically talking about climate change action and the impact of aviation on the climate and the emissions generated by aviation. So I first was exposed to that, let's say, in 2016. And my background is actually environmental engineering. I graduated from McGill as an aerospace engineer and with a minor in environmental engineering. And so I was always fascinated by alternative fuels. I did studies with the Department of National Defense. And so this came full circle for me. And it was sort of a light bulb moment that, okay, we all are aware, and this is something that business aviation likes to promote, that we have a very small percentage of emissions generated worldwide. And that's fair, but it is something that is difficult to reduce, unless you're using alternative fuel, sustainable aviation fuel. And there is what that does in terms of the mentality and mindset of the world of aviation or aircraft operators and owners, is that there is a sense of, okay, there's nothing we can do until sustainable aviation fuel is available. We'll just continue doing what we're doing. And I really think that what I wanted to do with Azzera is to change that and to create a mindset of sustainability now, because we need to start thinking about it now. Sustainable aviation fuel will come. The demand is there. It will come. Prices will come down when technologies are developed, just like any new technology over the years. Any industrial revolution has created reduction in pricing. Same thing with electricity, same thing with the production of steel. It'll happen as well for alternative fuels. But in the meantime, the first step requires that anybody in aviation, whether you're an operator, an FBO, MRO, even a sales broker, you can take a look at your own operation and say, how much is this operation emitting in terms of emissions? It's not just flights. It's maintenance, it's crew positioning, it's all of the things related to the operation. Travel, employee travel. There are so many things that we can look at. Electricity, what kind of electricity is your company using? So these are the things that we want to help companies start to turn on the sustainability in their department. And what the byproduct of that is if you measure, you can manage. You can understand, okay, where are the areas where we're actually exposed? What can we do to control that? And when you start to do that and have a plan, you'll see how quickly employees start to get engaged. And we've seen that already with the few customers that we had last year and that we are now having massive interest. The clients that are coming up and have done this journey. They've measured their emissions. They've created a plan. They're offsetting. They're becoming carbon neutral. Their employees are really rallying behind them. They're actually posting that saying, I'm proud to work for a company that actually is thinking about this. Guess what that does? It creates loyalty and sustainability in terms of workforce as well. So I think this is a really fundamental, and just to finish, I was in Davos last week, and the theme of Davos was time is up. And generally what's happening is, and the mindset shift is happening is, if we remember 10, 15 years ago, IT was considered maybe someone we outsource, maybe one person in the company. In many big companies now, IT is a department. It's become the norm to have an IT person or a department in the company. Well, sustainability is coming, and sustainability will do the same. So if you aren't thinking about it, you should be.
You told something really important, sustainable aviation fuel and offsetting. There are different ways. I have a question. Do you think we should try at least to offset in a different way and, let's say, let companies offsetting by investing money in sustainable aviation production, research, infrastructure, because we're facing chicken and egg situation. When there is not enough SAF, it's too expensive. The infrastructure is not ready. What about certification? What do you think? Would it be necessary for the industry to keep money in the industry for the development and just offset in another way? Because it's good to plant the tree.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's even better to research and get better sustainable aviation fuel, more of that, and the infrastructure ready.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, what's needed for sustainable aviation fuel for the long term is we need to go from the current methodologies to chemical methodologies, which do not require land to produce fuel. So that, yes, requires investment. The OEMs, all of the OEMs are investing heavily in this, in the development of SAF. But if you look and study SAF development curves, it's going to take many years to get to this point. And until you get to that point, you're working with SAF, and the demand for SAF and what's generated today is based on agriculture. And there are implications for that too. I'm not saying SAF is not good. It is the first step, what we have today. It needs to be used because it'll offset some of the emissions generated, it'll reduce some of the emissions generated from aircraft. But there's no doubt that SAF is expensive. And so, yes, I think the answer to your question is yes. We need to divert funds to the development of SAF technology, SAF production technology.
One topic which is very important for every company, because every business is for profit, is sustainable aviation, financially sustainable today.
Mm-hmm. So what is interesting about carbon offsetting is it is actually quite a small cost when compared to the cost of the operation. I can give an example. A Global Express will generate about 4 tons of carbon dioxide or carbon dioxide equivalent greenhouse gases in an hour. So if you're doing a trip that's 5 hours, that's 20 tons. The average market price for a carbon offset is about $17 US per ton. So on that 5-hour flight, if you want to offset the flight, make it carbon neutral, it's 20 times 17. That is the total price. So $340 is the total price to offset your flight. Now we know what the average charter price, it varies from day to day, but the average price for a 5-hour Global Express flight is many multiples of that cost, right? So this is a small fraction of the cost. And you can then choose the investment of the offset in some project that is important to the client, important to the operator, important to you. If the flight is going into Nigeria, you can choose a project that isn't based in Nigeria. And therefore it makes sense. You're making an impact.
A lot of people, again, we're discussing the future of sustainable aviation, including business aviation, hydrogen aircraft, and electrical aviation. The problem we're facing, again, infrastructure is not really ready. So we keep dreaming and developing the technology. Another question, do you think clients, customers are ready to accept this new technology coming?
Honestly, I that's a hard question for me to answer. My goal is for people to just turn on.
That's already a lot.
And it's you said it. It's really about making it effortless to take the first step. It is a lot, because, and I know that that's why the business is based on just getting people onto understanding or thinking about it, and making one step, which is measuring their emissions. You can't manage what you don't know. And then once you start to understand the effect of your business, which everyone should be doing, if we want to actually achieve net zero 2030, 2050, or whenever, you have to at least know what you're doing in terms of emissions. So in terms of new technology, I'm an engineer. I'm an aerospace engineer and an environmental engineer. So I've always been a proponent of innovation and technology. And therefore, I'm a huge supporter of eVTOLs, electric vehicles, hydrogen-based vehicles. I worked with fuel cell technology for powering submarines and buses. I'm big on all of this stuff. So I really enjoy that, learning about this technology, and I support the development of this technology. Would I jump onto a plane that's hydrogen powered today? Probably not. Unless it was fully certified, right?
This is a big issue because there is not really a deadline of certification, a deadline of manufacturing, and any deadline for the ground infrastructure ready. I'm a fan of technology, but as you told, will I jump today? Definitely not, because I need it to be proven that it's actually safe, it works, and everything is okay. One more question, if we talk all about that, aviation pretty much is pointed as a bad guy of all the industries. Despite all the efforts aviation is already doing, everything, let's say, everything we did is like we're not actually making any efforts. Do you think it should be explained or highlighted in a different way? Because actually aviation is doing so many great jobs. Medical evacuation, firefighting, search and rescue. It's not even possible without the aviation. So we should not point as a very bad industry guilty of all carbon emission in the world.
Yeah. I mean, those of us that are in aviation have been in aviation for all these years. And we're passionate about this industry. We understand those statistics. But if you talk to the younger generation, they stop at, oh, you're flying a private jet. That's terrible. They read the headlines. So I think ultimately what is the solution here is it all comes back to sustainability also in workforce, and the strategies that we need to employ as an industry to promote aviation is no longer the sexy business it used to be, to the younger generation. So the young workforce is not saying, I really want to be in private aviation. And why are they doing that? Because of climate change. That for them, that's the number one issue in the world. They're raised to believe that. They believe that. So we have to go back to that generation, whether it's through TikTok and social media or going to universities, and really promoting aviation as a business that is innovative, that is doing something about sustainability, that has made tremendous advancements, because that is the truth, but it's not known. And we can talk at this level with politicians, and we can talk amongst each other at EBAA and NBAA, but it doesn't affect the general public.
This is why I'm trying to do what I can to put or to get together people who are actually in a normal life, are not seeing each other or not talking to each other. Last week, I had participated in a very interesting discussion with our parliament and Assemblée Nationale. What surprised me, there was a brilliant introduction of one lady And she told, and it's a real thing, when she was very little, she was saved by aviation, because at that time little private jets were flying kids. I don't remember what disease it was, but the only solution was to make 1 hour flight. They were taking several kids. So she told, aviation literally saved my life. And if I'm here and now today, it's thanks to aviation. So I think that, as you told, technology and all the development, the speed and the multitude of solutions aviation is proposing today on the market, hoping that it will bring to the net zero in some decades, let's say, because I'm trying to be realistic, we need to promote it and to explain that despite the fact of being pointed as a bad guy, it's totally wrong, because it's an industry working on a huge progress and in fact leading the way to sustainable operations.
Fully agreed.
So this is what we need to do. My last question. I know that a lot of people will disagree, will tell that it's not that easy to be financially sustainable with sustainable aviation. Are you open for industry brother questions and discussion live with them?
So you mean, am I open to discuss and debate with colleagues? Of course. This is what I'm, I've been spending the last 2 years of my life just focused on this because I want to bring change. I spent 25 years in this industry. It's been very rewarding for me from a professional level. And I want to do something good for the industry. And I think this is the direction where we can all, we can build a community that is actually progressive. And if we can, Azzera can play a part in that, I would be very, very happy.